When they're not, you experience things like, discomfort, eye strain, muscle soreness, decreased productivity, and increased stress. So we want to make sure that there's a balance between all three of these things. So for this particular workshop, we're going to be focusing on eye strain, but obviously that, ergonomics encompasses a lot more than that. Okay, so moving on to some of the more common symptoms. So some of the things to look out for are sore eyes, tired eyes, itchiness, burning, watering, as well as actually dryness. You can really have, either or. Blurred vision, as well as sensitivity to light. That's definitely a big one I see a lot. And then some of the things that you may notice in the body are headache, difficulty concentrating, and oftentimes a sore neck, sore shoulders, or sore back. Okay, so some of the different causes. So these causes are specific to computer vision syndrome. So computer vision syndrome, or CVS is the abbreviation we're going to use, is kind of a subset of eye strain in general. So it can also be called digital eye strain. So you may see it in literature as DES. So some of the kind of the causes that may increase your propensity for getting CVS are decreased rate of blinking, incomplete blinking, where kind of you're bringing your lid down, but you're not fully touching it to the bottom lid, incorrectly positioning your screen, viewing the screen for too long, or just not taking breaks throughout the day to give your eyes a rest, poor posture, having a low refresh rate on your computer screen. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like later. And then just increased time spent at the screen, as well as existing visual problems. So existing visual problems are actually one of the main things that may lead you to develop CVS, or people who have, existing issues with their vision are at least at an increased rate for developing CVS. And just a quick note on the decreased blink rate. So as I was kind of, looking into this a little bit more and digging into the research, I found that, so typically the blink rate when you're not looking at a screen is going to be about 22 blinks per minute. When you are viewing a screen, it decreases down to 7 blinks a minute. So that was pretty surprising for me. I thought the decrease would be, 12% or something, but it's actually like 60% or so. So that's a pretty drastic difference. And then I wanted to pose this question that looks like we've got the chat up. I don't know if I can actually see it right now, so maybe someone will help me, but how many hours per day do you have to be viewing a computer screen to be at risk for computer vision syndrome? I'm just kind of curious if anyone has a guess.
We say 1 hour, 4 hours.
Okay, good guesses. Those are better than I expected. So it's actually 2 hours of viewing a screen. So it is a really, really low bar. So I think very few of us are not at risk for developing CVS. So that's just one of the things I wanted to drive home, is that any amount of viewing a screen is going to put you at risk for computer vision syndrome. So moving on to the prevalence, these are just some of the numbers that I found when I was doing some of this research. So it's estimated to affect about more than 50% of computer users. It's more common in women than men, 65% versus about 60%. It's more common in those who use more than one screen simultaneously. I wasn't clear from the study if that means computer screen and phone, or like computer and TV, because that would be, just about every single person, or if it means you're simultaneously using 2 different computers. But for more than one device, about 75%, and for one device, 53%. And it's also more common in those who wear contact lenses versus those who don't. And that's at about 6 hours of computer use per day. So some of the effects, and if you've ever had eye strain, this is going to sound fairly familiar, but decreased comfort, decreased productivity, an increased rate of error, increased stress, and actually disruptions to your circadian rhythm. So this was one of the more surprising things that I found, is that eye strain actually is correlated with issues sleeping. And in some ways it's causative, in some ways it's just a correlation, but we'll get into that a little bit more, and kind of what you can do to make sure that you're not disrupting your sleep cycle. The one good thing, though, that I found about computer vision syndrome is that it's not a permanent thing, it's a transient thing. So as soon as you address the root cause of it, you're going to experience a decrease in symptoms and you're going to be able to resolve that issue. The one exception is if you have some sort of, progressive degenerative eye disease and you are doing things that are increasing eye strain, that could potentially cause damage. But other than that, yeah, for the most part, these symptoms are going to resolve as long as you address the root cause. Okay. So moving on to other causes of eye strain. So, kind of the bulk of our risk really is coming from computers and screens, but there are other things that do cause eye strain as well. So excessive reading from paper documents, if you're just, reading for, multiple hours out of the day, that's going to potentially cause a problem. Stress and fatigue can also contribute to eye strain. Having poor lighting conditions, from glare to lighting that's too bright to lighting that's too dim, that can definitely cause issues. Sleep deprivation actually is one of the main contributing factors to eye strain, and what it does is it actually dries out your eyes. It's a kind of just a purely mechanical thing. It dries out your eyes. Your eyes aren't getting as lubricated throughout the night because you're not getting enough sleep. And then throughout the day, you have really dry eyes, and that actually contributes to the soreness and the decreased blink rate and the blurriness. Having an underlying or an unaddressed vision problem definitely contributes to eye strain. Exposure to dry, hot, moving air again contributes to that dryness of the eyes. And then driving for long periods of time on end definitely contributes to eye strain as well. Okay, so we're going to move into some of the things that we can do about it. So we divided this up into behavior solutions, things that you can implement right now, start building on and kind of building habits around, and then we'll get into the environmental solutions. So the first and biggest thing that you can do is to start taking eye breaks. So eye muscles fatigue just like any other muscle in your body. If you use them too much or you don't give them a break, they are going to get strained. They are going to get sore and tired. So the 20-20-20 rule basically recommends about every 20 minutes taking a break, picking an object about 20 feet away and just focusing on that for 20 seconds. So that's where the 20-20-20 comes in. Obviously, it doesn't have to be exactly 20 feet for 20 seconds every 20 minutes, but that's just the easy way to remember it. So that allows the muscles of the eyes to relax and gives you a little bit of a break. So the next recommendation is just to not rub your eyes. So when I mentioned that computer vision syndrome it's a transient thing, it's not really actually damaging your vision or damaging the structures of your eyes. That is true. However, if you find yourself rubbing your eyes constantly, you can damage the cornea. So that's kind of the one thing that we would really recommend not doing. And it's difficult because a lot of times, computer vision syndrome goes hand in hand with dry eyes. So that's kind of the first thing we tend to want to do is to rub our eyes because they feel itchy and dry. But this is one of the things you really want to try to avoid because that actually can cause damage potentially. So using a humidifier or eye drops is one of the ways just to reintroduce lubrication into your eyes. If you find that you have, incomplete blinking or you're not blinking enough, or you just notice that you've got dry or itchy eyes, this is one of the ways that you can kind of resolve that and decrease the need to kind of rub your eyes. Oops. One of the other really big things is just to visit an eye doctor. See if you can get fitted for glasses or contacts if you feel like you have difficulty viewing things. So, like we mentioned before, those with visual impairments are at a higher risk for developing computer vision syndrome. So this is something you want to pay extra close attention to if you know you have an existing issue. And, for instance, people who have, say, bifocals and are only doing computer work may find that that's not really suitable for the type of work they're doing, because what's going to happen is when they try to look through the bottom portion of the lens, they're going to tilt their head and their neck back, and that's going to put a lot of strain on the neck and shoulders. And that's something I see often enough with progressives and with bifocals and sometimes trifocals. So definitely, working together with your eye doctor can be helpful to make sure that you have the right fit between, the work that you're doing and the type of tool that you have. So it kind of goes back to, the basics of ergonomics, the fit between you, the tools, and the work that you're doing. So maintaining good posture. So this is another really, really big thing to pay attention to, because your posture and your kind of your eye positioning They work together, they work hand in hand. So anytime one of them is off, it's going to cause the other one to get off. So they really work in tandem. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at your seated posture, you're upright with the floor. So either one is fine. We really just don't want you to be leaning forward. That's going to cause your neck to be craning back a bit. You want to slightly tuck your chin just to make sure that you're not, protruding it forward. And you want to allow your eyes to relax downward at about a 15 to 20-degree angle. So when people think of having a relaxed eye position, oftentimes they think of having their eyes going straight out, looking straight out in front of them at a horizontal line. And that's actually not the neutral resting position for the eyes. They want to be downward a little bit. That's where they're going to feel relaxed and feel good. So having yourself positioned to where you can allow them to relax and rest is definitely going to reduce the risk for eye strain. Okay. So bad example here. We're obviously on a Zoom call. But in general, what you want to do is try to limit Zoom calls as much as possible. If you're able to favor phone calls over Zoom calls, definitely do that. That's going to give you a chance to rest your eyes again. And because so much of the work that we're doing is focused on the computer, it's really important to take any opportunity that you can to get away from that. Another point is to limit screen use before bed. So one of the things that you can do is, try to do anything else, listen to a podcast, do something that's not going to be putting that strain on your eyes. If you do find that, you really are glued to the screen, try using something called night mode. It comes in different names and there are actually different apps that do this. But basically, what will happen is the screen will kind of slowly dim as the day goes on and the colors will become more warm. So this is thought to help you kind of not interrupt your sleep cycle quite as much. Blue light tends to really interrupt it and kind of throws your body off. So introducing that warm light really gradually as the night goes on can kind of help to preserve your sleep cycle. So that's something that you might want to look into if you really have a hard time, moving away from the screens. So one of the little kind of breaks to take you through, these are really, really simple. So choose an object at least 20 feet away from you. And you can find something maybe out a window if you have a window nearby, or if you have like a long hallway with an open door that you can look through, that's great. So whatever's around you right now, see if you can find something that's about 20 feet away or more, and just focus on that and allow your eyes to rest on that object for at least 20 seconds. What this is going to do is it's going to allow the muscles kind of on either side of the bridge of your nose, or these muscles that control your eyes and cause them to go inward. So those are the muscles that you're targeting. Those are the ones that you're relaxing. The ones on the sides, on the outer edges of your eyes, those ones are going to contract. So those are bringing the eyes out to focus on something further away. They're bringing the eyes out a little bit. So you're engaging those muscles while you're relaxing the ones on the inside. So that's one good thing to try. And this is what you're basically doing when you're doing that 20-20-20 vision break. So the next one you can try, this one helps with, lubricating the eye, decreasing stress a little bit. So what you want to do is rub your hands together a little bit just to get some warmth built up. And once you get them a little bit warm, you can gently press, really, really gently, don't push super hard, but gently press the heels of your palms into the eyes with your eyes closed, and just allow them to sit like that for about 20 seconds, about 20 to 30. And that will increase, the lubrication on the eyes, since that's something that we know definitely contributes to CVS. And as well as that, make sure that you're not rubbing them. So it's just kind of gently pressing, but no rubbing, because again, that can damage the cornea. Okay. And then we're going to go over a couple of breaks here as well, just with different stretches.
All right. So for those of you that attended the last workshop or cut the newsletter, one of the things we always recommend is taking many movement breaks throughout the day. Those can be as short as 30 seconds or as long as 5, 10, 15 minutes. And if you can try to balance those every hour to 2 hours throughout the day, that will help relax your posture, relax some of the muscles of the neck and the shoulders that start to get tense with being seated throughout the day. So anything will work for one of these many movement breaks. You can take a walk. You can even do a short meditation. Think about breathing as a form of movement. It actually moves the diaphragm up and down, which helps relax that whole shoulder girdle. But today, so that we can practice something together, we'll do a few little shoulder stretches from a seated position. So the first one we're going to do is just letting the arms rest on either side. And you can see that I have some little armrests here that sort of inhibit my ability to go straight down. So I'm going to slide all the way forward on my chair so that my arms can reach straight down towards the floor. And I'm going to really reach my fingertips down towards the floor. So go ahead and join in here. We're trying to let the shoulders relax away from the ears as far as possible.
Jake, are we supposed to be able to see you?
Oh, that's right. I'm not the one presenting. My
Sorry,
fault.
I could see you, but I realized.
Yes.
I was
We're so
following
used-
along. I'm like, this is great. Okay, I'm the only one that can see you though. Let me stop share real quick here.
All right. So now can you see me?
Yep.
Great. So sitting towards the end of the chair, we're going to reach our fingertips straight down towards the floor. And we're really trying to pull the shoulders away from the ears as far as possible. And we're just going to stretch down into that position, letting the shoulders move back just slightly as we reach the fingertips down. 5-10 seconds or so. And now we're going to shrug the shoulders up as high as we can into the ear, going into a little bit of a contraction here. And then we're just going to reach right back down. So what we're trying to do is move the traps, these muscles that support our head and our neck, through their full range of motion. In this vertical plane, the way that we typically sit, it also will give us a little bit of awareness about how far our shoulders actually can sit away from our ears. No matter how nice our desk setup is, the tendency is to slowly start to shrug. So the second one we'll do is stretch out this back of the shoulder, the posterior delt. And this is the same idea. So we're going to reach across the body. I'm giving myself just a little bit of a tug through that opposite arm, a little bit of extra stretch. You don't have to pull too hard here. But if it doesn't feel like you're getting much stretch, you can start to slide your shoulder down away from your ear just slightly, and then relax. And then we'll do the same thing, a little reach, sliding the shoulder down. And let's do that once more. Reach across, sliding the shoulder down. Good. We'll go ahead and do the other side. So slight reach across the body, giving a little bit of support through the opposite arm. And I'm just going to pull my shoulder down away from my ears. And relax. We'll do that 2 more times. Relax. And the last one. And relax. So the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to really work to stretch the neck out. So we've all done this before in our PE classes when we were kids, but we're just doing like little shoulder neck rolls basically. And the way that I like to approach this is we're not trying to get the biggest range possible at the outset. We're just slowly letting the head kind of move back and forth until you start to feel naturally your range increases. And you can even go into a complete circle all the way around. Since we're focused on eye strain here, I'm going to get a little closer to the camera. One of the things that feels really good here is to fix your gaze in the direction that you're moving. So as I drop down, I'm going to look down. And as I swing to my right, I'm going to look as far as I can to my right. And naturally, you'll start to get a little bit more stretch. We have a tendency to move our head the direction our eyes are moving. So if you think about shifting your eyes in the direction that your head is moving and allow your eyes to sort of lead the movement, you'll find that you get a really, really nice stretch without the risk of moving into too big of a stretch right out of the outset. So any one of these 3 can be done. You could use these as part of your 20-20-20 and maybe just take 30 seconds, 20 seconds even to run through one of the stretches, or you can structure them as part of your mini movement break at the top of every hour. All right, Kelly.
Awesome. Okay, so let me get back to here. Okay. Can you guys see it okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, awesome. All right. So, yeah, so just recapping the behavioral solution. So 2020 vision breaks are great to introduce into your kind of work routine. Resist rubbing your eyes at all costs. Try anything else. That's the one thing that really is going to potentially cause damage. Use a humidifier or eye drops. Take a visit over to the optometrist. Maintain good posture. So really make sure that you've got your desk space set up for that. Limit Zoom calls as much as possible and try to prioritize, phone calls, anything that's going to prevent that. Limit screen time to about 2 to 3 hours before bed. So try to have that blocked off a little bit. If that's really not possible, try to use night mode or some other type of app that's going to help to dim the screen a little bit and introduce warmer colors. Okay, so moving on to the environmental solutions. So these ones might be a little bit more involved just because they do introduce equipment potentially. So the first easiest thing that you can do is use Command Plus. So I think this is the same on, I could be wrong, I think it's the same on Windows and PC, or sorry, Windows and Mac. But if you find that you have a web page you're looking at or some screen you're looking at and the type is really, really small, or you're just having a difficult time, making out the images, use Command Plus. It's going to enlarge things a bit and help you to relax your eyes a little bit so that you're not squinting so much. And this is also going to prevent you from leaning forward in your seat, since that's usually what we tend to do as soon as we can't see something, we get out of that good posture and we tend to lean forward. So when you're using more than one screen, so like we talked about a little bit before, that may potentially put you in increased risk for computer vision syndrome. So you want to pay attention definitely to where you're positioning those things to at least reduce the risk a bit. So whichever monitor you're looking at most often, if the breakdown is like maybe 70% on the monitor on the right and 30% the monitor on the left, you want to have that right monitor positioned closer to your center. So definitely, scooch them over a bit and position that a little bit closer to you. If it's 50-50, they can be, evenly split. So they'd be both meeting right at your center. So definitely try to use a screen that has at least a 75 to 80 hertz minimum refresh rate. So the human eye typically can detect about 60 hertz or less. So that means that the image on the screen is disappearing and popping up again about 60 times per, I guess that would be per second. Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to remember the exact details of these things, but you can find this when you look at the specific model that you have, it will tell you what the refresh rate is. So anything below 60 is going to be a little bit of a red flag. 70 to 85 should be good. Anything above that, you're absolutely fine. Okay. And then another really big one is eliminating or reducing glare. So this can come in a few different ways. So what this may mean is potentially just readjusting your screen if that's as little as it takes. You may need to reposition your entire desk if you have really large windows that are getting a lot of direct sunlight. You may want to invest in window coverings if that's not possible. Taking a look at anti-glare screen covers definitely can be appropriate if you're not able to reposition anything. Or investing in like overhead blocks for fluorescent lights. They do have a couple of those. So there are definitely different things that you can do, but you may need to look at your specific situation to see what might work best. Okay, so getting into positioning, and this is something that we cover pretty much in any workshop that we do. But this is basically what you're looking for when you're looking at how to position yourself at your workstation and ensure that you are maintaining adequate posture. So feet flat on the floor. You want to have your hips slightly higher than your knees. You want to have about 1 to 2 inches of clearance behind the backs of your knees, just to make sure that the edge of the seat isn't pressing into the backs of your knees. Your posture should be anywhere between 90 degrees to 120 degrees with the floor. So that means looking at the angle that your torso makes with the floor. So anywhere between 90 to 120 is totally fine. You want to have your shoulders relaxed with your elbows bent about 90 to 100 degrees, with wrists straight and palms facing down towards the floor. And then the key here, kind of with what we're discussing today, is having the top quarter of the monitor level with your eyes. So most times when I do an ergonomic evaluation, I find the monitors are up way too high. For most people, the reason that they do this is because they think it's going to make their neck feel better or make their eyes feel better. And actually what it does is make them feel worse. And in fact, that might be the root cause of why they are feeling neck strain and eye strain. So definitely take a look at where your monitors are, position them down if you need to. That's usually the correction that I end up doing. And you may notice that your eyes and your neck feel better like pretty much right away. I do see that pretty often. So for standing workstations, going to be pretty much the same thing. You can prop one foot up onto, a footrest or some other box or object, and that helps to tilt the pelvis and release some of the pressure on the low back. Same thing as before with the seated position, shoulders relax, elbows bent 90 to 100 degrees, wrists straight and palms facing down. And then lastly, you do still want that monitor to where the top quarter of it is level with your eyes. So it's going to look exactly the same sitting or standing as far as monitor position goes.
Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
a question came through
Yeah.
about most of us at home have laptops right now.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't have monitors.
Yeah, so as far as positioning goes, it's going to look exactly the same. I would advise probably having the laptop screen positioned a little bit closer to you. Typically the rule of thumb is about arm's length distance away is what you're looking for. But because the screens are so much smaller, I would say probably, scooch them in a little bit closer to you so that you're not leaning forward or squinting. But that's really the only difference I would advise between working off of, a larger monitor screen versus a smaller laptop screen. Yeah, that's really the only difference you'd have.
Is there such thing as being too close to the laptop or monitor?
Yeah, I didn't see any with positioning the screen, closer or further to you. I didn't see any like really hard and fast like rule of thumb, like you cannot move it closer than this. So I'm not exactly sure what the correct answer for that would be. I think if you're starting to feel any strain, that's definitely a red flag right there. I'm trying to think of what, I'm sure there are some, if I dug further into, like how far things in general should be to your face, probably we could get an answer from that and kind of extrapolate out from general advice. But probably no closer than like 1.5 feet. I think that's probably plenty. Yeah, there are definitely like natural limits to your eyes when you start bringing things in too close. Also,
another recommendation for the laptop that we've talked about in other presentations about setting up a at-home workstation, to think about the task that you're completing with the laptop. So for example, if you're watching a workshop or doing a Zoom call and you're not having to type at the same time, to elevate your screen closer to that 15 to 20% line down from the eye. So if you can just have a couple books or reams of paper handy, so that every chance you get to kind of pop the laptop up, that will certainly help.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then, oh, okay. Sorry, I think that I didn't realize it was coming through one after the other. Okay, there we go. I was wondering why it wasn't going to the next slide. So the next thing I would want you guys to focus on is kind of paperwork and how to work with that. So generally with paperwork, you want to have a dual source of light. So what that means is having kind of ambient light in the room in general at a little bit of a lower rate, at a little bit of a dimmer setting, and then have a desk lamp that's pointing directly onto the paper documents that you're reading. So kind of a spotlight. And what that's going to do is those the two light sources are going to add to each other. So you're going to actually have plenty of light on the paperwork while not catching any glare on the computer screen. So if you do find that you work between paperwork, paper documents, and also computer, that's going to be the best thing for you, is getting that dual source so that you're not catching glare off the computer screen, but you do have sufficient light on the paper documents. Okay, so recapping the environmental solutions. So definitely take a look at your screen, see if you need to enlarge things. You can do command Command plus for, any random page. If you want to have it, permanently set to a larger type, you can go into settings and change that there. Position the monitors correctly. So you want to make sure that the top quarter is level with your eyes, and you want to position them in the horizontal plane based on you. So whichever one you're looking at most often, that one should be closer to your center and right in front of you. Invest in a screen with a higher refresh rate if you find that you have one that is really, really low, because that can contribute to that eye strain. Take a look at your surroundings, make sure that you're able to do something to reduce or eliminate the glare, and ensure that you have sufficient lighting for paperwork.
And Kelly, there's a question in chat.
Mhm.
Does it cause eye strain when looking at monitors with no lights on in the room?
Ooh, yeah, that was a good one. So that is, let me skip ahead here. There we go. No, it's not a problem. So that was one of the things that I was wondering myself. So I don't know if you guys had heard this as well, but anytime I've been watching a movie growing up, someone has been like, okay, yeah, turn the lights on, have some level of ambient lighting in the room, because, it's thought to hurt your eyes. Apparently that's not true. I dug into it a little bit. I wasn't able to find any evidence, any research that that's the case. And in fact, there were quite a few eye doctors kind of calling it out as like, a thing that we used to be told growing up that's not actually accurate. What is true is that if you're reading, a book, like a paper document, some type of book in really dim lighting conditions, that can cause eye strain. It can make it more difficult for you to read. It's not going to damage your eyes in and of itself, but if you have an existing eye problem, it can make that worse. So yeah, so that still is true. So definitely you want to have sufficient lighting for paper documents. But yeah, apparently for computers, for TVs, for phones, that's not an issue. I was actually kind of surprised to find that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then this is another really big one. So computer glasses. This is one that pretty much anyone who reports eye strain has asked about computer glasses. I had been going off of research that was done maybe 2 years ago, when I was advising people on this. And the research that I was looking into from about 2 years ago was stating that there really wasn't a difference between those people who wear computer glasses and those who don't. The studies were pretty well designed, so it was kind of inconclusive, I guess. However, there was a more recent study that was done that was a randomized controlled trial. It was double blind. It was a really good study. And they found that there was pretty conclusively zero difference between those who were wearing computer glasses with the blue light blocking tint and those who don't. So I'm pretty confident saying there's just no evidence to support it at this point. If you've tried everything else and you want to give computer glasses a shot, I don't think they're going to do you any harm. But I would definitely say focus on the things that we know work, like addressing glare, addressing the refresh rate on your computer, to taking a look at lighting conditions, positioning your computer correctly, and then taking breaks. So we know that all those things work. Computer glasses doesn't. There's really nothing to support it. So I'd say focus on the other things first, for sure. And then I think we do have one more here. Okay, so fluorescent lights. So this one was interesting. I've found conflicting information, but it seems like overall the newer types of fluorescent lights, they have a higher enough refresh rate to where they do not cause eye strain and they do not cause headaches. But the older versions of fluorescent lights do. So this would require you to do a little bit of digging to see, if you are exposed to fluorescent lights, to see if those are the really old types that have a really low flicker rate. If that's the case, yes, it can cause headaches and it can cause eye strain. But typically the newer ones don't do that. And I think some of the studies that I was looking at were from the 80s. I'm assuming probably most of the lights that we're exposed to at this point are not those old types. But of course, that's going to differ place to place. Okay, so So just ending your workday, as a reminder, you want to put away your screens, do a short meditation, give your eyes a chance to have a little bit of a rest break. You can also work out a little bit. That also gives your eyes a rest break. Listen to a podcast if possible, or read a book, anything to get you away from that screen. And something that we should also mention is, of course, if you cannot do that, if you really need to be on the screen, definitely look into, night mode. A lot of phones have it built in, or just getting some app that will, slowly dim your screen out and create more of a warm light. Whoops. Okay. And then we've got our resources here and our little guide to look at here as well.
Great. And I have the, Jake sent me the presentation, so I can share that as well as I am recording this.
Okay, perfect. And does anyone else have any questions? I included those few at the end because I think those are the most common ones I get, but if there's anything else.
So, Kelly, people may have this question. As far as a virtual assessment, what are the logistics of that?
Yeah, so the system that we have set up basically is you would go onto the Ergonomics page. I believe that's where they have the link. You should be able, I'm already forgetting the exact process, but I think you should be able to go to the calendar, you go to the intake form. You fill out the questions there. Once you've completed filling out the questions, don't leave that page. There's going to be a link allowing you to book an appointment on our calendar. So you'll see all the available appointments there. So go ahead and book an appointment. And then once that's done, I'll be able to see that and I can go back and take a look at your intake form, get an idea of what your concerns might be. And then that intake form will also give you the opportunity to upload some photos of your workspace. If you have someone that you can tap on the shoulder to get you to take a few photos of you working at your space, that would be great. If not, if it's just you in the home, that's totally fine. Just take some pictures of your workspace and I'm going to be able to kind of piece that together. And then for the actual assessment, we'll just be meeting over Zoom. Of course, if your issue is eye strain, we can do a phone call as well. So the video component of the assessment is not as critical as you might think. So we can definitely still do it over phone call as well. And so, we'll be discussing what your concerns are. I'll be taking a look at the photos. We'll go over, your height, how you're positioning. I'll walk you through how to position yourself correctly using the items that you have. We may need to recommend a couple of things. If that's the case, I'll write that on a document. And I'll be sending that to you and to HR. And you'll also get a full summary of what we've gone through.
Great. Yeah, and then there are directions or instructions as far as the purchasing process and working with your budget manager on purchasing items. Here's another question. Excellent question. As campus slowly opens back up, do you anticipate offering in-person assessments again? And I'll start off by saying yes, absolutely. Timing wise, Kelly, I'm not sure if you know anymore. I mean, that's
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that'll be up to
USF,
I guess USF and Jake
and San Francisco and the policies and so absolutely, absolutely, we are as soon as we possibly can, for sure. Are there any other questions? We will be putting, Natasha asked the question, is the Zoom recording and slides, will they be shared? And yes, I'll share them. I'll email them to everyone who is here today, as well as we will post the presentation on the HR site.
Awesome.
And let's see, getting a few thank yous. You're welcome.
Yay, you're welcome.
Thanks for attending, everyone. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, this was very helpful. I thought it was really great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like such a small part of your body. It's almost hard to find like enough things. But once I started digging, it's like, okay, yep, these are all the issues we see.
Yeah, this is a thing. There's so much with remembering to get up and, every
Yeah.
hour and move your body and, to avoid overuse injury and stretching, and that's all important. So if we can get up and stretch our eyes the same time,
Yeah, combine them.
combine it all.
Every time I'm like, oh yeah, 20, 20, 20. And I'm like, yeah, take a movement break every half hour. And it's like, if you were to try to do all of those one after the other, there's no time to work. So yeah, definitely
Right.
combine them. There's no other way.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah.
That's a great way to ensure that that you get up out of your seat, especially the older you are.
Oh yeah. Bathroom breaks every time.
Bathroom breaks. Yeah. All right. I guess that's it. Well, thank you all for joining, and thank you, Jake and Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Dan.
All righty. Have a great day.
All right. Bye. You too.
Bye-bye.